While the holiday season might be ending, the leaky season is still in full blast, with last April's Gonzalo leaks being independently verified by the fine folks at Digital Foundry, who performed a deeper dive into all the known data, mixed with some educated speculation. I'll leave a link to the very interesting article in the description below if you want to delve into all the details. In short though, it seems we'll have a PS5 with a processor composed of 8 multi-threaded Zen 2 cores at an as-of-yet undisclosed clock, and a GPU with 36 custom Navi compute units at 2 GHz. Likely the same 40 compute units present in the Navi 10 PC counterpart found in the RX 5700 and RX 5700 XT, with 4 of those compute units disabled to improve yields, thus allowing the console to aim for higher production numbers and to keep price-performance ratio under control while still providing us with around 9 Navi-based teraflops. And for those looking for some backwards compatibility out of your PlayStation, you'll be glad to know that the possibility is built into the Oberon silicon itself, as the GPU can be switched to 3 different modes: the fully unlocked native mode, or Gen 2, and the Gen 1 and Gen 0, which correspond to the PS4 Pro and PlayStation 4 specs respectively. The leak is far less descriptive when it comes to the Microsoft offering, and we can only speculate that the processor referred to as Arden might be a fit for the Xbox Series X, or whatever it's called right now, the XXX Extreme Supreme maybe. That could end up being a fitting name in a way, as Digital Foundry theorizes that the chip might pack 56 custom Navi compute units at approximately 700 MHz, which would translate to around 12 Navi-based teraflops, blowing away PlayStation's offering. That, however, leads us to question just how much will this beast end up costing, and might provide credence to the rumors of a double-pronged approach from Microsoft, with a high-end console taking the performance crown at a premium and a more modest, budget-conscious option to duke it out in terms of price to performance with the PlayStation 5. I guess we'll see how that pans out. Moving on to the next story, leaky season continues, this time directly from ASRock, an AMD board partner, which let out perhaps a bit more info than they would like about the upcoming RX 5600 XT card. You can check out the leaked specs at videocards.com at the link below. In short, it's a cut-down RX 5700 with the same number of stream processors, but a slower memory clock, a lot less memory bandwidth, and only 6 GB of it, compared with the 8 GB of its cousins up the food chain, and even some versions of the RX 5500 XT, so that's a bit of a head-scratcher, but maybe we will see different versions offering 8 GB. Some people were quick to read ASRock's blurb of 2nd Gen 7nm GPU as it being based on 7nm plus RDNA2, but that's not the case. It's simply how ASRock labels all Navi-based offerings, as they consider the quickly forgotten Radeon 7 as 1st Gen 7nm, a generation that lived just long enough to disappoint us all. Another leak/rumor, but this time from a much more tenuous and not very reliable source, namely a Taiwanese forum, where Navi 21, AMD's 7nm plus RDNA2 next step on the Radeon roadmap, is being described as a mammoth chip at double the die size of the RX 5700 XT. That, while also taking advantage of the efficiency improvements of the 7nm plus design node, would allow for an incredibly transistor-dense design, which would allegedly translate to staggering performance improvements, and make Navi 21 a possible competitor for the 2080 Super and perhaps even the 2080 Ti. This would mark the much-awaited return to the high-end enthusiast market for AMD GPUs. However, there's already rumors of a 2080 Ti Super in the works, which might be Team Green's answer to this development. Of course, we caution that you don't just board the hype train with Destination Disappointmentville again. Take this bit of news with the biggest grain of salt you can possibly find. I know, it might not be the best time to indulge in this much salt, with the cholesterol level still raised from the holiday season, but I'll sacrifice it all for the tech news. So now, let's move on to more reliably sourced news. AMD CTO's Mark Papermaster's interview with Anandtech is a treasure trove of info on AMD's next steps and how they plan to fulfill their ambitious roadmaps, revealing that they are now on a 12 to 18 month cadence when it comes to the release of new processor generations, and that their aim for IPC improvements, while not overly ambitious, is certainly above the slow average industry growth. To do that, they need to beat the anemic 7% per year single-threaded performance increase each gen, or around 10% if they take the full 18 months. We also learned that both Zen 4 and Zen 5 are being worked on simultaneously by leapfrogging teams, an approach which has allowed improvements that don't make the cut because of time-to-market deadlines to simply flow upwards to the next gen. Last but not least, there is an expectation of a new gen of Infinity Fabric, AMD's special sauce solution to interconnecting chiplets, with each new gen of processors to keep up with new connectivity standards, with Papermaster stressing how important innovation was at this level. For the full interview, you can follow the link to Anandtech in the description below. It's a solid read. Now that we checked in with AMD, let's check out what Intel is up to after the not very exciting leak of their Comet Lake S lineup, which provides more cores and more hyperthreading across the board, but not a move from the 14nm architecture just yet. What is quite exciting for the laptop and notebook market segments is their new thermal design, part of Project Athena, to be presented at CES 2020. Combining a vapor chamber under the keyboard, which substitutes the thermal compound that's usually found there, with a graphite sheet behind the screen to more efficiently move heat away and then dissipate it. This directs the bulk of the heat away from your lap and makes for a more comfortable experience. Unless you're really into your crotch being unreasonably warm. We don't judge. This could make for fanless and thus super silent lower-end machines and be a much-needed boost for higher-end machines, keeping them from heating up quite as much. It might even signal an end to very annoying thermal throttling issues which hold performance back, especially in ultra-thin models. It might not be the 10nm desktop processors you were looking for, but at least you know that Intel is looking out for your crotch. A fan project named Red Dead Redemption Damned Enhancement Project, with the goal of porting the first Red Dead game to PC, has been stopped after publisher Take-Two Interactive launched a lawsuit against the project's main developer, Jonathan Wyckoff. Wyckoff asked on social media for Take-Two to stop the lawsuit, amid accusations that they killed modding and saying that he was totally just about to contact them later this week if they hadn't sued him. Totes for real. Still, that unadvised first tweet has since been taken down, and he has reported to be in talks with Take-Two, hopefully to resolve the issue amicably without the threat of looming bankruptcy or worse. So, if you had any doubts about whether you can port a game of which you don't own the rights to a different platform, well, you can't. Still, it's a nice thought, and hopefully it will show that even though the game is nearing on being a decade old, there's still a market for the PC port. Speaking of older games that people still crave for, The Witcher 3 Wild Hunt, a now almost 5-year-old game, has seen a resurgence in player numbers on Steam, hitting peaks that it never hit before, not even at launch. This is obviously thanks to the Netflix show renewing interest in the game, but also a testament to the enduring quality of this rendition of the Witcher universe crafted by CD Projekt Red. Now, how about a game of Gwent? No? Moving on. ArenaNet, the developer of Guild Wars 1 and 2, has been a mainstay in the PC MMORPG market for almost 20 years, but now, after a round of layoffs early in 2019 and Mike O'Brien, the last founder working there, leaving the company in October, they seem to be gearing up to dip their toes in console development. The studio put out an ad for an art director for an unannounced fantasy action console title. It remains to be seen whether they'll create a new IP or draw inspiration from the Guild Wars universe. Well, after a bit of gaming news, let's play a round of everyone's favorite game. What's Elon up to now? Things are looking up as Tesla has built the first completely foreign-owned car manufacturing plant in China, and in under a year started delivery on some Model 3 units. They will now be able to avoid China's 15% tariffs on imported cars as they reach the growing Chinese market, and Tesla stocks reached an all-time high last Friday on the back of these news. However, it's not all roses, as analysts from Cowen Inc. expect it'll miss its vehicle delivery estimates by 4,000 this year and advise investors to sell off the stocks before they dip again. It's been a roller coaster ride for Tesla in the stock market, fit only for the investor with a hearty stomach and a taste for risk. but the rewards are potentially bountiful, as other analysts from Global Equities Research estimate that the stock value could grow well into the thousands, with a price target of $4,000 by 2030. It seems even market analysts are at odds with how mercurial Tesla stocks can be. Oh, Elon, there's never a dull moment with you, is there? Booking.com is under investigation by Russia's Federal Anti-Monopoly Service, and no, it's not a service meant to stop people from playing Monopoly at family gatherings, sadly. FAS claims that the contract signed by the website with its partners forbids them from offering lower prices in competing marketplaces. If the investigation deems the company guilty, it could run afoul of a fine up to 15% of the revenue it has generated in the country. Booking.com has reached out to the press, claiming to be disappointed to hear of the investigation and defended its business model as transparent, and that its hotel partners, not Booking.com, define which prices to list. Consulting firm 12 Security has uncovered that the data of over 2.4 million Wyze users has been exposed due to an unprotected database, allowing people to access key pieces of information. Although financial information was not included, the report claimed that extremely sensitive data, such as email addresses, a list of cameras in the house, Wi-Fi SSIDs, and even health info, including height, weight, gender, bone density, and more, had been leaked. In a series of forum posts, Wyze confirmed the leak, and vowed to hire security specialists and learn from their mistake, but denied that they had collected info on daily protein intake and bone density, claiming their nutritional scale was not that cool. So if you're a client and signed up before December 26th, rest assured that while most of your personal info may have been at risk, your bone density was never, ever endangered. Thank God.